Yeah, g'day YouTubers, Tinker O'Toole with another video. Hope you enjoy the video today. Please subscribe to the channel. Any comments, thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Yeah, g'day YouTubers, Tinker O'Toole again here with another video. Today we're going to talk about the best shape for a splitting axe and maul. Typically we start off at 4 pound, which is 1.8 kilo, go to 6 pounders, which are 2.7 kilo, and our 8 pounders, which are 3.6 kg. That's an 8 pounder there, and these are 6 pounders, and that's almost a 4 pounder. Then we go to our, got a professional range here of the Stihl Oxenkoff. You've got the Stihl Pro splitting axe, then the Stihl Maul, the Stihl Forestry axe, Husqvarna sledge axe, that's 2.5 kilo, 3.6 kilos on the Fiskars Maul, 2.5 kilos on the Cyclone block splitter. They call it a block splitter because it looks just like a block of steel. There's no special shape to that. And the Cyclone Super Splitter 2 kg and the Estwing 6 pound 2.7 kg Estwing Maul. Great axe that. Then we've got our range of our Fiskars, another Husqvarna there. That's the S2800. Now, interesting enough, Fiskars, and we're going back 20 years ago. I can't even remember what this is the oldest one I've got. We'll pull it out and have a look at that after. They've changed their geometry over the years, and we'll sort of go over the changes of the geometry. But typically, most of the Fiskars splitting axes range from 1.5, 1.6 kilo, and they go up to 2.4, which are for the larger one, the X32 or the X27 or the X25 or the X36. So you really don't have an in-between like a 1.8 kilo or a 3 kilo. You virtually got 1.5 and 2.4, which is 2.4 kilo here, and here is your 1.5, and you've got a sorry, that's 1.6, and you've got a little 1.5 on the X17. So you don't have a lot, but it's interesting. We'll talk about what I believe personally is the best geometry for a splitting axe. The mauls are a little bit different. We can talk about what I believe also is the best shape for the mauls as well. So we'll go over that because there's that many on the market, and you sort of wonder sometimes, you know, what do I get? At least I can say I've got a total of, what is there, about half a dozen sitting there, another bloody 7 or 8 there. Look, I've got a total of about 30. These are my better ones that I've got hanging up, the ones that I probably use the most. And I've got some cheaper ones over in the corner. And I don't sort of have them hanging up because I don't use them that much because they're cheaper Chinese one, more of an experiment to see how they work rather than anything else. So yeah, we'll go over the different shapes, handle lengths, handle shapes, all that sort of thing, and come to a bit of a conclusion what I personally believe is the best and the ultimate design for a splitting axe. Okay, so I've got out all these splitting mauls and mainly splitting axes. There's only one maul at the back, that's the Estwing, because I'm going to talk about what I consider probably the best shape for a splitting axe. And if we have a look at the splitting axe that we've got, you've got the Fiskars, the Stihl, the Estwing and the Cyclone. All of these have one thing in common. They've got curved, the cheeks are curved. We can have a look at that. Most of them are around the 30-degree angle, the wedge. And what's also interesting is that the Fiskars, going back 20 years ago with this one here, we'll just pull this one out here, that they were very wide here, and then they went a little bit smaller by about 7 or 8 millimeters, and now they've gone back wider. But if you actually have a look, you can see that the cheeks have got that curve in them. And the latest X32 have reduced that quite significantly, and the wedge that's on these older ones was typically 25 degrees on this wedge here and 30 degree on that bevel. It's about 5-6 millimeters wide, so that the width of that bevel there, and mind you, these are razor sharp. Now this has only got a weight of about 1.5 kilograms, but it's unbelievable with the Fiskars. This is 1.6 kilograms, sorry. This X17 is 1.5 kilograms. And if you were to have a look, I just want to show you something, how they changed the geometry over the years. So this one is much older. I've got no idea. It seems to be similar to an X21, but you can see the difference between the length of the blade. See how they started to go smaller. So this is the X17. So as I say, this is about 20 years ago, and they were definitely wider, and also the beveled edge on them, the cheeks. So they started, if you actually look at the two cheeks, and I'll try and put them up, you can see that the older one, you can see those cheeks on the right. They've got more of a hollowed out cheek. So they have been playing around with the geometry, and of course I took no notice of that going back many years ago when I wasn't really interested in splitting axes or splitting mauls. I just used them like any other tool. Now if we look at the Stihl, and this is the AX20 PC, you'll also notice it's got the beveled cheeks. It looks like a Fiskars. So you've got this beautiful wedge shape which is almost identical to the Fiskars. So that's that one. And if you look a little bit closer and we look at the Husqvarna X28, you'll see that you've got the same thing again, that typical wedge shape, roughly about 25 degrees here, and I think near 30 degrees on the bevel. So what I have seen over the years is that type of shape really does seem to work well. And let's take that to a little bit to the extreme. This shape is also very popular. This is one of my very favorites as well. I had to put an overstrike protector. It's a Cyclone 2 kg super splitter. So it has that shape as well. Now, one of my really favourites is the one at the back, and I left that to last, is the Estwing. It's got that type of shape as well. Razor sharp, 42 degree angle that is. So typically, the Fiskars and the Husqvarna, the wedge now on the X32, and that's this one here. So that's brand new. That's the X32. They've just got a flat section here, slightly concaved and slightly convexed on there. All the Fiskars are like that. They've reduced this significantly and made this wider. So they've gone back to the old style, because if you have a look at the old style, you'll find out that they've gone back. Even the older style was, oh. So I think this one here, this one, is probably about 1 millimetre wider. So they no longer have 25 degrees on the main wedge and 30 degrees on the beveled edge. They've got 30-degree wedge. And the Estwing, that is probably one of my favourites. So, and this is also a great favourite too. It's only 2 kg, but it really does split well. Now, that's not to say that the other type of splitters that I've got there don't work as good. What I am saying is that this type of narrow wedge that you find on the Fiskars and on the Stihl and on the Estwing and on that type of narrow wedge seems to be the most effective and the most popular in all sorts of wood, as well as the Stihl. So I'm extremely sort of happy with that type of style, and I believe that that's the type of style that actually works better before you go to the mauls. Now, typically, when we look at the 2 kg super splitter from Cyclone, that's 2 kg is just over £4. So, and then you jump to the Estwing, which is £6, so that's 2.7 kg. And the Husqvarna, this one here, this Husqvarna, this is the S, there it is there, the S 2,800 grams, so 2.8 kilograms. It is a beautiful splitting axe. Unfortunately, it's only got a handle of 700 mils long. Having a weight of 2.8 kg, to me, it would have been much better with an 800 millimetre handle like this here. So this is 2 kilos, but it's got an 800 mil handle, but the handle weighs 800 grams. So it's got a total weight of 2.8 kg. So it's got a total weight the same as the Husqvarna, but I feel this works a little bit better because of that extra 100 mil on the handle. Now, everybody is different. Now, strangely enough, when I'm using this, and I've used this to split timber, this is, I don't even know what this is. It looks like an X21 because this is nearly 20 years old. This is the first Fiskars I've ever owned, and it's still bloody, as you can see, it's all worn off. The green on there's all worn off. They make them out of silver these days. They put a silver coating on there rather than the green, but that type of green, olive type green, was fairly consistent as well with that type of shape there. So considering it's only 1.5 kilo with about a 720 millimetre handle on it, you'd be surprised that you can split timber up to 1 foot in diameter with that. And that's why I would really like to see that Husqvarna, this one here, would have been good if they brought it out in 2 lengths, 700 mil handle, 800 mil handle. And I'd say for people that are over 5'6", would have probably chosen the 800 mil handle. Heard a lot of people say that. When you put it up against the Stihl, the Stihl isn't 100 mil long, but if you have a look, it'd probably be about 60 mil longer. So, yeah, I would have preferred that to be slightly longer too, but it is better. And it's only a 2 kg. The composite fibre handles in all of the Fiskars and the Husqvarna and the Stihl, the handle doesn't contribute really to the overall weight because they're very lightweight. And you're going to have to rely on the head weight. But in the Fiskars, whether you get the X32, the X36, the X25, the X27, they're all 2.4 kg. As you'll see on there, Fiskars X32, 2.4 kilograms. Unfortunately, they don't make one that's 3 kilograms or 2.7 kilograms. It would have been nice if they did. But the Fiskars range start off very like the X17, 1.5 kg, fibre comp handle, see? And I've got it written down there. It's 1.5 kg, 600 long. It actually works quite good for what it is. For 1.5 kilos, surprisingly, you'd be surprised what you can split with that. It's the same as the X32. A lot of people really do like using that. It is the same as the X20. The X32 has an 815mm handle on it. You actually have a look. It'll say that there. 815mm handle. It is the same length and the same weight as a X25. The X27 is the longer handle, around the 900mm. So anyway, the final conclusion is that the type of style that I've shown you with the curved cheek really does work well, is very popular. Fibre comp handles in these three. The one at the back, the Estwing, I think that is fiberglass also. It's a different composition with other polymers. 900mm handle, so 2.7 kg. It is a beautiful one. Okay, so what's the end conclusion? The end conclusion for a splitting axe is that if it only weighs up to 2.4 kg, like the Fiskars, that type of shape that you can see in the Fiskars range and the Husqvarna and the Stihl is really suitable for the lightweight or to medium type weight splitting axes. And as seen in the Cyclone, it's only 2 kg, but it predominantly has that wedge type shape, but it's a lot bigger. It seems to be much more effective. Now, when you go to the block splitters or the mauls, the geometry changes quite considerably. It can. I've got a Husqvarna 2.5 kg sledge axe. That's fairly long in size. It's a different type of style. I don't think that the angles and the shape of the wedge are as critical as you go up in weight, because as you go up in weight, if you look at the Fiskars ISO core, the maul, it's got a total weight, it's got a head weight of 3.6 kg, so it's an 8-pounder, but it's almost 5 kilograms in total weight. It has a wedge of, I think, 37 degrees, and it's got a beveled angle of about 45 degrees. So you can sort of, what becomes critical in a block splitter or a maul is not so much the angle of the wedge, it's the weight. You've got sheer weight. That's what gives you a lot of the splitting force. Yes, the angles are still important, but the weight overall really helps the splitting action. And as you can see in these, especially with the Fiskars X17, 1.5 kilos, to the heaviest one in the Fiskars range, X32 or X36, 2.4 kilograms. The Stihl 2 kg there. So if you have a look at those in the low weight range up to the higher weight range of 2 kg and 2.8 kg for the Husqvarna, that shape of that wedge is fairly similar. They're all fairly similar. The only difference is a few degrees here and there, and the width can change of the actual blade. But generally speaking, they all pretty much work the same based on that shape below 3 kilograms. The moment you start to get over around 2.7 kilograms like the Estwing, you start to go to a different type of shape altogether. And a lot of the times, like the Estwing, you've got a sledgehammer head on the back, especially the Fiskars maul. It's got a 75mm diameter round head on it for hitting steel wedges. So that shape is not as critical as what it is for the lower weight.